What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video brings me to Torrance, California. I'm here to look at a couple of locations that have to do with Chuck Norris, the martial artist and actor. Yes, Chuck Norris. He was born in Oklahoma, but he was raised here in Torrance.
I was known for multiple combinations. I was known for being able to close that gap on my opponent extremely fast. And I still work on that. I still work on closing that gap, being able to get in there before he has time to react. And that's exactly what I work on. I get in close, then I'll grab here, spin around, and then choke him unconscious right here.
First location here in Torrance is Norris High, and this is the high school that Chuck went to. It was brand new when he came here. It was barely opening up, so he was part of the first class here at Norris High. Born Carlos Ray Norris in Ryan, Oklahoma on March 10th, 1940. When Chuck was 16 years old, his parents divorced, and that's when he relocated to Kansas, and then eventually coming here to Torrance. There was even a petition to get this school renamed Norris High. Well, how cool would have that been, huh? Yeah, you see right here, Norris High School, home of the Saxons. Chuck Norris's school, everyone. In 1958, after graduating from Norris High, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. In the Air Force, he was still known as Carlos, but that was soon changed after a Hispanic member of the Air Force gave him the name Chuck. You know, since Carlos is Charles in Spanish. And that's how it all started. That's how Chuck Norris became the man, the myth, the legend. His life would change forever after he got his first assignment as an air policeman. That was in South Korea, and that is where Chuck gained interest in martial arts. Him finding interest in martial arts did turn into a lifelong obsession. After Chuck gained an obsession with martial arts, he began his training by earning a black belt in Tang Soo Do. After Chuck's time in the Air Force, he returned from South Korea and he was stationed in Riverside, California. After Chuck was discharged from the Air Force in 1962, he attempted to become a police officer for the Torrance Police Department. But after he didn't hear back from them right away, he decided to start his own karate studio right here in Torrance. And right here is the location where it used to be. It is now a sleep cycle. Bunch of beds inside. No karate studio. But yeah, it was right here. To promote his business, he went to events and he did demonstrations and even sparred. Chuck eventually started participating in competitions, but he was defeated in his first two tournaments. On June 3rd, at the 1967 Tournament of Karate, Chuck defeated 7 opponents that day. That is amazing, 7 opponents in one day. Chuck eventually meets Bruce Lee, who at the time was known for the TV series The Green Hornet. They became friends and they even trained together. Chuck's studio was doing pretty good, and Chuck gained popularity in the karate world. He won his first middleweight champion in 1968. He would go on to win 5 more titles, giving him 6 in a row, before eventually retiring from competition. By the year 1970, Chuck had 6 karate studios, the main one being right here in Torrance. Chuck even taught some famous people karate, Steve McQueen, Priscilla Presley, and members of the Osmond family. And that is when Steve McQueen encourages Chuck to try out acting. Chuck would eventually make his first screen appearance in an uncredited part in the film The Wrecking Crew in 1968. Starring Dean Martin, but his film career didn't take off, not until he got into the Kung Fu action movies. His first one being The Way of the Dragon in 1972. That film also starred Bruce Lee. In the film, Chuck was Bruce Lee's nemesis. After his film career, he turned to TV, and that's when he starred in Walker, Texas Ranger. I sure do remember that show. ran from 1993 to 2001. Walker Texas Ranger was actually inspired by the character Chuck played in the Lone Wolf McQuade. And Chuck did become a real Texas Ranger. In 2010, the governor made Chuck an honorary member of the Texas Rangers. Here's a little crazy story. In 1994, when Chuck was living in Texas while they were filming Walker Texas Ranger, he was walking down the street in Dallas alone, and he didn't think about it. He didn't think, why would he not be alone? And he never thought that potential thieves would target him. Yeah, so he walked down the street and two guys came up to him. They were a little bigger than him, and they probably didn't even recognize him. He at first thought that they were gonna ask for autographs. He smiled at them, and they pulled out knives and they demanded his wallet. Chuck wasn't only a master in Tang Soo Do, he knew Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kudo, karate, you know, you name it, he knew it. So it was not a pretty sight for the police department when they showed up. They had to save those muggers from Norris, and Chuck did break their arms. Not quite sure exactly where Chuck's studio was, but if you look right here, there is a Taekwondo studio right here. How cool is that? There is still some kind of karate in this little plaza. Can't help but imagine this being Chuck's studio. How cool is this, huh? Let's take a look inside. Well, that's pretty cool, but too bad it's not open. When Walker Texas Ranger ended, he kind of eased up on his acting career, but in 2012 he did make an appearance in The Expendables 2. It has been almost 10 years since his last film, Expendables 2. Yeah, he's been pretty absent from Hollywood, but the reason for it was his wife. She developed a mysterious illness. So basically his wife had arthritis, and the doctors had to inject her before they did an MRI on her because it would help see the arthritis better. She did not react well with those injections though, and they ended up pretty much messing her up. And yeah, Chuck had to go stay with his wife and care for her, which is understandable. Family first. Yeah, those injections were of gadolinium, and she pretty much got poisoned by it. Yeah, so Chuck left Hollywood and he raised awareness for gadolinium poisoning and their side effects, and he even took those matters to court. But where does Chuck Norris live now? Well, he lives in Texas on a ranch. Chuck and his wife actually run a water company from their location in Texas, and they also run a non-profit organization called Kickstart Kids, and that provides karate lessons to children. That is very nice of Chuck and his wife to run that organization, help kids defend themselves when needed. Chuck created two major forms of martial arts, one being American Tang Soo Do, and the other being the Chuck Norris system, which used to be called Chung Kuk Do, but it was changed in 2015. Back in my day, I used to be in karate too, and I used to train under Tang Soo Do. I'll show some pictures, and yeah, I was a little boy kicking butt. I won one tournament, lost the other. But with that being said, everybody, that is it for me here in Torrance in front of the former location of Chuck Norris's dojo. If you guys like these videos, give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.
What if they do? Maybe the katas do not teach you how to fight, but it teaches you balance, teaches you coordination, it develops your power. So come on.